Good afternoon, Elliot and Vanessa. The reason is simple. I mean, there's a great deal of uncertainty surrounding, number one, the school shelter closings. We have 42 of our schools operating shelters with a total of 28,000 residents in them. Secondly, our inability to inspect and make possible repairs to our facilities, considering that we're going into a curfew from 7 p.m. tonight to 7 a.m. tomorrow. Widespread or localized flooding, as well as the possibility of downed lines. So considering those factors, it is prudent at this point not to keep pushing back the opening one day at a time and just make a general announcement that when we are ready, we will alert our community. And lastly, the readiness of our workforce. I mean, we employ 52,000 individuals. Many of them left the community. Many parents, many kids, and many of our colleagues left Miami-Dade. We need some time to organize, to assess, to inspect, to empty out the shelters, to clean and repair prior to resuming school.
And Superintendent, have you heard of any reports of damage at any of your schools?
So far not. And, the most accurate reports that I'm getting at this point are coming from principals and staffs who are co-managing the 42 shelters. They are there, they're on site, and what they're telling me is that the structural integrity of schools is very high. Quite frankly, throughout the storm, there was the occasional loss of power, but generators kicked in. But obviously, extensive exterior examination inspection has not been done. But I suspect, particularly as a result of the massive renovations done through the $1.2 billion bond referendum, the modernization of schools, the replacement of old legacy windows with impact glass, I think that has gone a long way in terms of protecting our infrastructure across the community. So I'm not getting reports of catastrophic loss at this point, but we're really going to begin that process of inspection sometime tomorrow.
Well, that's good to hear that the schools they didn't sustain that type of damage. And I know you're saying that the school classes are closed until further notice. Do you suspect this will be a week or maybe possibly even more than a week?
Good question, Elliot. I'm certainly quite hopeful. I doubt, considering the timeline and the work ahead, I doubt that we will be able to open prior to this coming Monday. A week from tomorrow, obviously, probably will be very difficult. So I think this will be a 1 week period. But should we accelerate the process of inspection and whatever repairs would be needed, then obviously we will alert the community. But based on what I know now and what needs to be done, I suspect that Thursday or Friday would be best case scenarios, but those are quite frankly vanishing very quickly considering the curfew, the fact that we have to empty out the shelters, and that will take some time, particularly for the population of homeless individuals who were transported to our shelters, clean the shelters, make necessary repairs, and bring back the workforce. So I'm looking at this week, quite frankly, as a timeline for which we will accomplish all of that.
Well, it's good to have that for parents as a framework, right, just to give them an idea of what lies ahead as far as the kids are concerned.
And for the children, Superintendent, are you going to have anything, are you discussing anything to have in place? Because obviously I'm sure as somebody who grew up amidst the hurricanes, I went through Hurricane Andrew, it can be a bit traumatizing, and I'm sure a lot of these kids, their homes may be damaged. Are you going to have anything set in place for them once they do go back to school?
Absolutely. So we have been disseminating for a number of days now two critical elements. Number one, educational resources. There are age-appropriate and grade level appropriate to our website that parents can access to maintain some degree of remote educational opportunity. Secondly, we've also made available to parents, and we convey this to parents via robocalls, text messages, and emails, resources for parents to use in terms of discussing anxiety and stress related to the conditions that kids went through, the stress of the storm, as well as the rebuilding effort. You know, the fact that they may be without electricity for a number of days and may be certainly inconvenienced. Those resources have been provided to the parents. They are available through our website at www.dadeschools.net. For any questions, we're asking parents to call us at a hotline 305-995-3000 for any additional information. And one last point, Elliot and Vanessa, which is critical. We have currently 28,000 people in our shelters. 42 of the 43 county-operated shelters are in our schools. We usually stock those shelters with food up to 3 days, food and water for 3 days. Some shelters have had residents since Thursday. I am working diligently with our county mayor. I have spoken with Governor Scott a couple of hours ago. We need the National Guard and the county to make some additional deliveries of provisions to sustain the residents should we have to keep them beyond some point tomorrow. So this is a critical need that we're working through. When conditions have improved, we need to get trucks out on the road to make some additional deliveries so there is a continuity of minimum comfort for those most impacted by the storm.
Is there a problem now with food at the shelters?
At this point, we do not have a problem, but if we have to feed individuals past tonight, meaning once the curfew is lifted at 7 a.m. tomorrow, we may begin to experience some localized stress points, and we certainly want to avoid that. We are at that critical point where resources will begin to run out. Again, 3 days is usually what's kept in schools. In some schools, we've taken more people than the original allotted capacity. Obviously, nobody was turned back. And now it's time to accelerate the process of delivering some additional necessities to these schools.
All right, Superintendent, we appreciate your time. I'm sure just hearing your voice and your reassurance of everything at Miami-Dade Schools is very helpful for parents and staff and students. So we appreciate your time. Thank you and stay safe.